Sunday, December the 17th was the week before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. But I will tell you right now, in my backyard, I can see a squirrel. Okay, why did I come on at this time? I'm going to tell you a couple reasons. Selfishly, it's a gray, gloomy day, and I just needed something to kind of kick my day up a little few notches. Another reason as well is just came from a funeral home where we lost a family friend who was in his 80s, John Gouda. A little tribute to John Gouda as well. A wonderful man who worked in the world of agriculture here in Bradford, working at a couple of the different packing houses, and then as well, big gardener, loved his vegetable garden, loved his tomatoes, actually kept seeds from his tomatoes year after year. So I just want to give a little shout out to him, and also wanted just to have some time where I could come here and chat with everybody and kind of clear my mind as well. You know, there's nothing like talking about gardening. There's nothing about kind of thinking about the upcoming week that we have. And maybe in your life, you have some gardeners and you're thinking about, what do I give the gardener in my life? Well, you can never go wrong with a pair of gardening gloves. There are never enough gardening gloves that any gardener can have. And there are so many different types and varieties of gardening gloves that are out there, but just a simple garden glove that you get to know their color that they like. Pruners, secateurs, the Felco 2s, those are the number one horticultural pruners in the world. So if you're looking for a really good pair of pruners, it's the Felco 2. The reason for that is they actually have the ability to change out the blades, an amazing product that's available. You could always just buy them something simple, like a Miracle Grow fertilizer. Or maybe you're thinking about, they live in the Southern Ontario region, you get them a membership to their local botanical garden, like RBG, Royal Botanical Garden. Get them a membership there, or maybe Toronto Botanical Garden. There's many books that are available on the market. There's books, Frankie Flower books, unfortunately. If you can find them, they're few and far between because most of them are sold out. Hoping you can get a new print that's on there. But, you know, every gardener loves a garden book. Magazines are something that they love as well. You know, thinking about buying a plant for that person that loves plants, indoor plants, some of the simple ones that are out there. There's nothing quite like a jade plant, super easy, brings good luck. Aloe vera is another really wonderful plant. If you have somebody in your life that's maybe the one that's the aspiring vegetable gardener, but also maybe the culinary person in their life, you can see that Arrow Garden. Arrow Garden has many different types of plants and seeds that you can grow indoors during the wintertime. And the reason why you can grow them indoors during the wintertime is all because of the Arrow Garden growing system. So that's the Arrow Garden growing system. And what's really great about the Arrow Garden growing system is you can see that it has a light. So it's going to be able to give it full spectrum light. It also has this here, which is where the water goes and the nutrients goes, which is the plant food. And there's also, you can see here, there's like an indicator that will tell you when you need to add more water, more food. There's even vacation mode, and you can program this based upon the plants that you're growing. It is truly the best and easiest way to grow herbs indoors during the winter. So indeed, I'm just going to put this down. That is a great gift. So, and then finally, if you have a big budget and you're thinking the ultimate garden gift, to me, the ultimate garden gift would be a trip for two to the Chelsea Garden Show in the Netherlands, in the UK. That would be the ultimate garden trip that would be out there. Lacey saying hello today from Oshawa. We got Miriam saying, good afternoon, Frankie. How are you? I was about to check your page right now with notification from you. I'm just going on early because it's just gray. It's gloomy. And I'm thinking by 7 o'clock, I don't know if you feel the same as I do. 7 o'clock now feels like 10 o'clock because it just gets so dark so early that when it comes around to 7 o'clock, I'm almost to the point where I just don't want to think. I just don't want to think. Hi, Frankie from Ottawa. Wonderful to have been a part of the Spirit of the Season on Friday. What a great time. Yeah, Spirit of the Season this Friday at Casa Loma that Breakfast Television did. We have a ton of viewers that were there. It was a wonderfully great time and a great thing to be a part of. Casa Loma, Christmas at the Castle is unbelievable. Casa Loma is just a really remarkable property. Of course, I got the ability to decorate one of the trees there. A little family folklore history is I've been told, so my dad's Italian, my mom's Canadian. My mom's name's Alice, but she's actually Scottish-Irish background. So I'm Scottish-Irish-Italian. I'm always fighting with myself, always. But family folklore is Lennox, the architect of Old City Hall in Toronto, and the architect of Casa Loma is my mother's great uncle or great uncle, one of those. So there's like a family lineage, which is really cool. And what's cool about Casa Loma is it was a property that was built by an individual, which was Henry Pellet. And it's basically was a residence at that time. It's an amazing property. And I'm hoping to get to be able to work on and help with some of the Casa Loma gardens this upcoming year. So I'm just kind of working through that right now. So that's kind of one of my newest exciting projects that I'm really excited about as well. So we got Miriam that's saying, thank you so much for early. Love it. It's a very good gloomy day here. Wonderful to see you as well. So some of the common issues and kind of questions that I'm getting at this time, of course, is a lot of leaf drop that's happening in people's homes. So why would we see leaf drop on plants? So why do plants drop leaves? Well, first and foremost, it's a sign, an indicator of stress. And stress can be anything, plant stress can be anything to a lack of humidity in the home. It can be too much water. It could be too little water. It could be adverse changes in temperature. But generally, the number one reason for leaf drop is just overwatering. Because now with the darker days that we're having, the gloomier days that we're having, the lack of sunshine that we're having, plants don't need to be watered as often indoors. If you have a plant near a heating vent, and now that our heating vents are starting to be used more frequently because we have cooler temperatures outdoors, so we're heating our homes, that's reducing humidity in the home and also changing temperature. So try to avoid putting plants ever near any heating vents. And another reminder, often people are like, oh my goodness, this plant needs a lot of sun. So they think that they want to put it right up against the window. Never, ever put a plant against a window. Because when you put a plant against a window, the cold from outdoors can actually go right through the glass and actually affect and hurt the plant indoors. So just as long as it's in a bright room, and there should always be a little space between the window and the plant, that the plant will not touch that window, because that's the healthiest way that that plant will be. Adding humidity into our home, we of course can mist our plants. Another way, we can add a humidifier to our home and or a furnace, which makes it better for us indoors. And then even putting a pebble tray. And what I mean by a pebble tray is we would actually take a plate and put pebbles on it. We would then fill that with water and put the pot of the plant on top. So what happens is the water on that large plate, use a larger plate, would evaporate. And as it evaporates, it actually builds humidity around a plant. Another way to add humidity to plants is to group them. Plants will always do better in groupings. So if you're grouping plants indoors, they will do better as well. We got Timothy out there saying, good afternoon on a Sunday, on a gray, gloomy Sunday as well. That's out there as well. So some of the other things that people have been asking and or commenting about is as well with the poinsettias, and some of the poinsettias that they brought in home, they're seeing that the leaves are dropping. And often the reason being is when we bring a poinsettia home and you buy it from a grocery store or even a garden center or a floral shop, you notice that they're generally a grower pot, which is a green pot, inside another pot and or container. That container or hat would be the one that will ensure that water doesn't leak all over. But often what happens is when people go to water the poinsettia, they don't actually check that that hat or that covering has any water sitting still within it. So anytime before you water a poinsettia, always make sure that whatever it's in, that container that it's in, doesn't have any water just sitting there or pooling. Because if a plant pools in water, what'll happen is that plant will drown and it will have root rot, and that'll be a big occurrence. Got another shout out there as well. Good afternoon from Serena. Good afternoon to Serena and Athena. I believe that would be the two. Another thing that happens is when we have our plants too wet indoors outside of leaf drop, is we may be seeing that we're starting to get these little bugs that are floating and flying around. Those little bugs that are floating and flying around are known as fungus gnats. And fungus gnats, what they require is not only a moist soil, they require decaying plant material for them to thrive indoors. So if that's the case, your plants are overwatered and they have all this decaying material, how do we get rid of fungus gnats? Cut back on the watering, clean the base of your plants. So if there's any leaf that have fallen, always clean those. If you ever see a dead or yellowing leaf indoors, you're better off to remove it than to have it stay there. Then what you can do as well is just dust a little bit of cinnamon powder, and that can reduce the amount of fungus gnats that you're going to have inside your home. Yellow sticky traps, you'll put the yellow sticky traps And the benefit of the yellow sticky traps is they will catch the adult fungus gnats, not allowing them to lay additional eggs. So that's the other way that we can really, really help out as well. So those are some of the tips, and some things that you're probably watching and maybe wondering about too is if you have a plant indoors and that plant indoors all of a sudden starts to have sticky leaves. Sticky leaves on plants indoors are an indication that that plant is probably getting eaten by an insect, because many insects, after they eat a plant, will secrete a waste behind them called a honeydew, and that honeydew will be a sticky substance. So if you see a sticky substance on the leaves of your indoor plants, my recommendation is to spray them with something like Bug Be Gone. Got a question there, and Lacey has a question. I want to get a jade plant, but I always kill them. How do I not kill them? I have many house plants, but jade dies. So the jade plant is a plant that loves to be root bound. So this jade plant that I have here, I've actually had it for a couple of years. And we can see that there's some really nice smaller growth that's just starting to grow on the top that's here. If I feel it right now, it is fairly bone dry. I maybe water it once a month, and when I water it, I actually just put water into the base of this little container here, allowing the pot to suck that water up. So this guy here is a succulent plant that likes to be dry and pot bound. It needs to be in a southerly or westerly facing room, not directly in front of the light, but just basically in bright light. The jade plant, if you put it outside in part sun in the summer, it will thrive. So just a reminder, water when dry, okay, bright light, keep it pot bound, and you should have a jade that's going to last you for quite some time that's out there. Another kind of quick reminder as well, if you have a live fresh cut Christmas tree indoors, the Miracle Grow for Christmas trees, this is basically food for your Christmas tree that'll allow and has been proven to make needles stay on longer. So this here, 1 cup every time you add water to your tree, that's all you need. And the 1 cup is 1 cap, forgive me. 1 cap fill every time that you put water into your tree, boom, you're gonna have your tree last that much longer. My good friend T-Bone from the Holland Marsh. Good afternoon, Frank. Hard to believe that I was just out dicing carrot tops in the middle of December, putting onions in next year, and the tops are always an issue to try to seed. Yes, indeed. Some people still harvesting out there, still some corn out there. I was just driving, actually. I was just on Canal Road maybe a half an hour ago here in Bradford. And of course, Canal Road is surrounded by the canal. And in December, there's people out there fishing. Yeah, lots of people out there fishing. And that's always nice to see and not nice to see is the best way for me to describe it. And I'm going to call it right now that for Southern Ontario, it looks like we're going to have a green Christmas this year. Randall is saying, ever since you showed us the new rounded end poinsettias, I've been wanting to gift one, but can't find them anywhere here in London. So what I would check, it's the mouse variety of poinsettias. I would check, I know that in terms of some of the grocery stores that did stock them for this year, I believe that they're at Sobeys locations. So if you take a look at your Sobeys store, you may be able to find them and just check around. If you're ever in the Barrie area or Bradford Greenhouses Garden Gallery also supplies them as well. But they're really cool. And with the poinsettias, there's so many different variations of varieties. The one variety that I installed or recommended to be installed at Casa Loma was within the conservatory there, beautiful glass room with tropical plants, was the Princetta. And the Princetta is actually a very nice, shorter variety of poinsettia with a nice pointed leaf that looks like a traditional, but in a nice, bright, vibrant pink. And that to me was just a really nice, with the white traditional poinsettia, and then as a backdrop, and then in the front, the Princetta as along as a border. It was just amazing. That's out there. So there are several different varieties that are out there. Just another little shout out to Paul Ecke. Paul Ecke, if you ever want to know about the history of poinsettias, Paul Ecke was really the founder of the production of poinsettias across the world. And that was Ecke Ranch in California. That is no longer there. It actually was sold, but it was Sir Joel R. Poinsett, which was the American ambassador from Mexico that is the American ambassador to Mexico from the United States in the wintertime, saw this wonderful plant that was turning color. And by turning color, it was turning red. And he said, I got to figure this out and bring it home and show people because this could be really cool. and it ended up becoming the #1 potted selling Christmas plant. But it's not that it goes into flower, it actually changes color. The leaves change color because what happens, like our fall leaves, based upon the daylight hours shortening, the plants go into dormancy. And as soon as a plant like a poinsettia goes into dormancy, it doesn't produce chlorophyll anymore. Chlorophyll is the green in the leaf. So as soon as it stops producing chlorophyll, we actually see it change color, change the color of the leaves. The flower on a poinsettia is in the center point where you actually see these little yellow blooms. That's the flower on a poinsettia. Another question that we have about the poinsettia, is it possible to keep your poinsettias all year? The longest I kept them alive was 7 months. Yes. Very easy. Well, not easy, but possible and probable that you can actually keep them all year long. So we're going to enjoy during the Christmas season. After the Christmas season is done, we continue. It's a Mexican weed, so we allow it to dry out in between waterings, and we continue to have it indoors. In the summer, if you want to put it outdoors in part sun, but pot it up into a larger container. So if it was in a 6-inch, I'd pot it up into an 8 and even or a 10-inch. In the summer, it'd be outside. Around late June, early July, I would then go and take that poinsettia and cut it back to almost half its size. Then I'll actually bush it out, put more bloom counts on it to make it stronger. Then what I would do is, as we start to get to September and the overnight temperatures get cooler, I would bring it indoors. I would bring it indoors into a room, and in that room would be a room that the light would never go on at night. So it's just like a spare bedroom that has a nice big window that we get natural light, but also natural darkness. That'll actually trigger it to go into color. And that's a way that we can get it to overwinter year after year after year. If we actually want to start pruning the base, and actually we want to start removing some of the base of the leaves and go to a single stem, we can grow it over years. And whenever you see a poinsettia tree, that's just a regular old poinsettia that was grown year after year, pruned to make a poinsettia tree. So yeah, you can. And with fertilizing, I would just use an all-purpose fertilizer, and I'd be fertilizing that poinsettia from March all the way through to late October. And that's it. That's how you can do it, just like that. And they're a wonderful plant. Christmas cacti, of course, also, they bloom, they flower. It's not that they change color, but their blooms are triggered on the shortness of days. Another plant that's similar to that is your fall garden mum outdoors. That fall garden mum outdoors only flowers when days get shorter. So those are two other plants that need shorter daylight hours to make them go into bloom. Amaryllis is probably one of the only plants as a bulb that blooms indoors that's beautiful at this time of year that doesn't really need much light whatsoever. The key with an amaryllis is after it finishes its bloom, we want to remove that stalk, that bloom stalk that's there, that stem, and then there'll be leaves that shoot out. We want those leaves to shoot out. And once those leaves shoot out, we want to fertilize at that time. Once those yellow leaves, those green leaves turn yellow, that's when we want to remove the bulb, and we want to store the bulb out of soil in a cool, dry place that stays above freezing for that would probably be June that you would start to remove the bulb. You'd store it all the way until late October, early November, replanting it. And when you're planting an amaryllis, we're only planting really the bottom third of the bulb, leaving the top 2/3 of the bulb exposed, and it'll bloom out. But it's the leaves that gain energy for the following year that's there. Any other questions out there? If there's not, I'm just going to keep this nice and short today and just basically say thank you to everybody that's actually joined us on this little afternoon, abbreviated, shorter little Frankie Flowers live. Coming up this week, I'll be off Monday, Tuesday, off of breakfast television, going to a funeral, wrapping some presents as well. And then I'll be in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you have any questions at any time, you can always email me, Frankie at Frankie Flowers, and I'll be there. So once again, Frankie at frankieflowers.com, and I'll be there to help you out. We have Randall, I think the question that she said here. Thanks, Frankie. I live close to Sobe, so I'll check. Funny you should mention Casaloma. My two boys are there now. Casaloma, great property, guys. The Christmas at the castle is something that you got to take in. You know, I just want to wish that everybody to be grateful and kind to each other over this next week. Christmas can be a stressful time. It's a joyous time for many, but it's also a sad time for others. Just go out there. If there's somebody that you haven't talked to in quite some time, give them a call today. Just tell them that you love them. Make sure that you keep on grooming, you keep on blooming, that is, and you keep on growing. I'm going to be over and out for this evening. Take care and health and happiness to you all. Happy holiday season. No matter what religion, the whole thing about Christmas, what it should be, is just about community coming together, supporting each other, and giving love. And at this time, in this place, in this world, we need more community, more love, and more support for all of us. And I'll tell you, plants don't talk back. Plants are something that are forgiving, and plants are something that can give us beauty, hope, and also help with mental health. So if you're having a bad day, go out there and get yourself in nature, surround yourself with plants, stay dirty, and stay